Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson in New York City with Jack Norris. I'm here at Strata Data. How you doing?
Great to be here, Mike.
So it's been a while since we've talked, and what has changed in the world with MapR?
Well, we have been making a series of announcements. The grand total is really to support companies with an underlying data fabric and allow them to leverage all of their data and to really take analytics and move it from a historical perspective to inject it into the business, to impact it as it's happening. And yesterday we made a significant announcement from the database aspect of that.
And the database announcement, is that bringing things together? What is it actually doing?
Yeah, if you look at database and scaling, there's I think around 400 different database tools out there that a developer could select from, and they typically look at the workloads and say, well, what's the few candidates that I have that kind of meet that specific workloads, and we're changing all that by converging both the kind of transactional with the analytics. So the high read intensive and the high write intensive together for the same application or for a group of applications running on top of that fabric. So a lot of features in terms of how you support those analytics with SQL, with in-place machine learning, a lot of focus on the API to allow it easier for developers to develop applications that take advantage of that, and then to focus the real-time feeds, both in terms of integrated into streams and then for global change data capture. So really significant.
So for developers who want to deploy real-time AI type applications, this is going to be really important?
This is it, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll put a little caveat there, because even you kind of said for analytic type of applications, we're used to bucketing. We're used to saying, well, this is just a piece, right? Yeah. And I think we're just the next generation, whether you call them intelligent applications,
cognitive,
or just business applications.
Right.
It's, look, I'm trying to drive my web presence. Well, part of the web presence is, how do I contextualize that for each individual, right? How do I make it appropriate? So I think we'll start talking about speed, we'll start talking about context, and we'll start talking about action. Because it's really those three dimensions that allow you to leverage your data. So it's not who's got the most data that wins, it's who can understand the context that data provides so that they can make the best business action.
Are there any scaling issues with a database like this? I mean, does it run on-premise? Does it run in the cloud? Does it run everywhere?
So the best answer is yes. Right? You want to be able to run across locations. You want to run all the way to the edge, right? And that's what we've architected for. And usually what you have is, okay, I need availability, and I need speed, and I need reliability. Pick any two, right? So eventual consistency models is basically the de facto standard. We've challenged all that with how to deliver strong consistency and performance and scale at the same time. So, and we don't do trade-offs on availability. So that's the building block for the underlying core database, and that's what's significant, and we're getting just huge response with this announcement.
And so another application of this is, in the darling of the data world right now, seems to be the machine learning, deep learning, and AI application. And to me, it seems like that's going to work better with more real-time streaming data feeding those.
Yeah, absolutely. It's but it's not just the streaming aspect. Again, we're kind of used to compartmentalizing, right? That is back into the CEP days, right? If you look at the machine learning, huge advances and just constant changes, and internally, one of our data scientists refers to it as the machine learning tool of the month club, right?
Yeah.
But Ted and Ellen Friedman just published a new O'Reilly book series on data modeling and machine learning, and in it they have this whole chapter devoted to 90% of success is based on the data logistics. So it's not just which tool you use, but how do you get the data there? How do you have the constant training? How do you have the context, the historical data side by side with the data that's streaming in, and the other data that's providing additional information, additional context, if you will? It's all of that working together that is in real time to allow you to act quickly. So it's not machine learning that is a better analytic to explain the past. It's machine learning. It's a better analytic to decide what to do now.
So data still is very, very important in this whole world.
It's the building block. It's the new oil, if you will.
Yeah. It's not the new oil. That was something else. That was training data, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you look at where we have come in the last 6 months, right? I mean, you guys have a new database that's doing things together.
Yep.
There is a lot of change going on. How quickly are we going to get to a point to where AI is pervasive and yet transparent? Like it doesn't affect you. It's just like guiding us through the world. Are we years off from that sort of thing?
I think what we're in the midst of is this paradigm shift. And the old model was we're talking about an application and a technology, and that was dictating the data underneath to make that run. And that's how you optimize things. And what it resulted was in a series of separate silos. And in the big data space, we were using big data as kind of a descriptor, but it kind of stood for a certain group of technologies, right? And those resulted in a series of separate silos. And well, that database doesn't run on that. You'll have to have a separate cluster there. And that database, you need a more analytic one, so that'll be a separate one here. And then you need a separate stream, right, that feeds all that. So we've kind of repeated that. And I think organizations are starting to realize that what you need is to separate out. You need to have this very flexible, high-performant, reliable data layer, a data fabric, if you will, and then have the analytics brought to that, and a broad variety of analytics that sit side by side with your kind of legacy applications, right? That's the new order. That's the focus. And the vision of MapR was to architect from the beginning to support this broad functionality, this broad data fabric. That's what we continue to push on. So the database announcement is in the context of this broad data fabric that is cross-location, that is cross-data, that supports multiple applications, multiple tenants, right? So that you can logically carve it out the way you need to.
So a question I haven't asked you in quite a while, and I'm curious because of how technology has changed with data, being pervasive and somewhat better managed now and better in control. AI and machine learning, deep learning, feeding off of that data repository that we have. What in the world would you apply all these technologies to change something better for humans?
You mean what applications?
Yeah, what application? Like what space would you, resource allocation or, different things. What do you think data could solve in the world that we're not currently attacking it on or focusing it on?
Well, I think data is really the enabling kind of input and important output from a variety of functions. And if you look at how do you kind of put these more closely together, how do you kind of knit a fabric out of those inputs and outputs, and some exhaust is the fuel for another step. The greater you can do that, the more specific the information is, whether that's for that's medical, and how do we better understand the right medicine, the right approaches for individuals. So understanding their genetic makeup, which means that this is a very effective versus deleterious application. That's huge. That's very different than the 80-20 and we tested across a broad population. Say, I'm sorry, it really was effective for this group, but it doesn't work over here, so we can't approve it. That's changing everything, and that's just one small little piece. And if you look across security, being able to understand quickly a previous unknown, so that, I know that that's a threat, and being able to have the forensics to decide how to address it as quickly as possible makes everything more secure, and reduces the fraud and the leakage in a system. So I mean, I could go on and on
across. Data fabric across
and it's really just better understanding, better leverage of our data is key to being more effective across a broad swath of activities. And I think that's why, the new oil is a pretty interesting term, right? Because that works across, all these industrial functions, right? What makes this very complicated machinery run. That's what we're talking about with data, and having it flow faster, having more of it available, having it closely interlink those related activities so that they can be more effective and have more visibility. That's all goodness.
Excellent. Well, Jack, we look forward to that future. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.